Imagine waking up to a phone call that shatters the fragile peace you've built over 8 agonizing years, only to discover that the sister you lost to the shadows of cross-border trafficking might have been a victim of something far more sinister than an accident, a calculated betrayal by those sworn to protect. This is the heart-wrenching tale of Marcus Rivera, a DEA agent whose relentless pursuit of truth uncovers a web of corruption, human suffering, and ultimate redemption, reminding us that justice, like the English language itself, demands persistence, nuance, and the courage to confront uncomfortable truths. In this educational journey, we'll explore not just a gripping story inspired by real historical elements of border smuggling operations in the Pacific Northwest, but also delve into advanced vocabulary like pernicious, meaning highly injurious or destructive, often used to describe insidious threats like corruption, idioms such as kick the bucket, a euphemism for dying, though here we'll see characters fighting tooth and nail to avoid it, and philosophical teachings on resilience drawn from thinkers like Viktor Frankl, who in his seminal work, Man's Search for Meaning, argued that suffering can forge unbreakable purpose. As we begin this narrative script, picture yourself in Marcus's shoes, fumbling for that fateful phone at 8 a.m., the shrill ringtone, a metaphor for life's unexpected disruptions, pulling you into a vortex of mystery and moral reckoning. In the dim light of his Seattle apartment, Marcus Rivera bolted upright, his heart pounding like a war drum as the phone's insistent ring echoed through the room, a harbinger of upheaval that would redefine his existence. 8 years had passed since his sister Elena, a dedicated DEA agent, and her partner Sarah Collins vanished while probing the treacherous underbelly of cross-border trafficking in Washington state, a region historically plagued by smuggling routes dating back to the Prohibition era of the 1920s, when bootleggers exploited the porous U.S.-Canada border to ferry illegal alcohol, much like modern cartels traffic drugs and humans today. Marcus, himself a seasoned agent, had spent those years haunted by guilt, replaying their last conversation where Elena joked about her new Ford F-150 being bulletproof against the rugged terrain, an idiom ironically underscoring her unyielding spirit. The caller was Director Patricia Thornton, her voice laced with gravity. "Marcus, we've found Elena's truck in a flooded cave near the border." The words hit him like a sledgehammer, evoking the philosophical wisdom of Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who taught that we must distinguish between what we can control, our actions, and what we cannot, the capricious twists of fate. As Marcus dressed hurriedly, his mind raced through historical parallels, the infamous tunnel wars of the 1990s, where smugglers dug elaborate passages under the border, mirroring the deceitful caves in this tale. Driving north through towering evergreens, symbols of enduring resilience in Native American lore of the Pacific Northwest tribes like the Salish, he arrived at the scene buzzing. With forensics teams, Dr. Sarah Lindstrom revealed the truck's minimal damage suggested recent placement, implying a cover-up. Inside a tent, body bags lay starkly. Sarah Collins identified by dental records, her skull showing blunt force trauma, inconsistent with an accident, pointing to homicide. 2 other decomposed females remained unidentified, their plight echoing the tragic disappearances of countless migrants in historical border crises, like the Bracero program abuses in the mid-20th century. Elena's absence ignited a flicker of hope amid dread. Had she escaped? Philosophical undertones emerged here, drawing from existentialist Jean-Paul Sartre's idea that existence precedes essence, urging us to define ourselves through choices even in captivity. Marcus's emotional arc deepened as memories flooded, Elena's laughter, her fierce protectiveness, teaching him English idioms like bite the bullet during their immigrant parents' struggles. Vividly, he recalled her explaining cross-border as not just geographical but metaphorical barriers in life, a lesson in linguistic nuance for English learners navigating compound words. The cave skylight, through which the truck plummeted, became a symbol of hidden truths surfacing, much like how idioms come to light, revealed deeper meanings. As the sun dipped, Marcus checked into the Cascade Ridge Motel, exhaustion weighing like lead, only to be interrupted by Sheriff Wade Thompson's knock, a man whose crisp uniform belied nervous eyes. Thompson spun a tale of a skittish informant with info on Elena, but his probing questions about evidence rang false, triggering Marcus's instincts honed from years of interrogations. The sheriff's relief at learning Elena's body wasn't found was a telltale sign, a red flag idiom explained as a warning signal in English discourse. Alone, Marcus pieced clues. Thompson's detailed knowledge of DEA protocols unusual for a local. This moment of suspicion marked Marcus's character growth from grieving brother to vigilant investigator, embodying Confucius's teaching that the man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones. A universal wisdom on incremental progress. Driving to the DEA office, Marcus unearthed discrepancies in old reports. Thompson's search grids conveniently omitted key areas. Fuel logs showed excessive mileage the night of the disappearance. Cell tower pings placed him at the cave hours before any report. Patterns emerged. 17 missing women in Thompson's jurisdiction, far above average. Many immigrants like historical victims of the 1910s Chinese Exclusion Act enforcements. James Carver's buried report contradicted Thompson's impassable claims, revealing trails and tracks. Marcus copied files to an encrypted drive, his hands steady despite inner turmoil, reflecting on English vocabulary like corruption from Latin corrumpere, to destroy, apt for Thompson's moral decay. Thompson's text about a 5 p.m. meet at the isolated Bracken Ridge mill screamed ambush, but Marcus tailed him covertly, witnessing payoffs from Smuggler's Clove, Chinwei, and Tanner, names from DEA briefs. Overheard snippets revealed plans to clear a northern site, references to Elena's murder, and merchandise as trafficked humans, a pernicious trade with roots in the transatlantic slave trade's linguistic euphemisms like cargo. Marcus's rage simmered, but he retreated, calling Agent David Chin for backup, knowing isolation demanded caution. This chapter-like paragraph illustrates how historical smuggling evolutions, from alcohol to drugs, inform modern narratives, while teaching English learners to parse complex sentences for emotional depth. As Marcus evaded detection, philosophical reflection on trust emerged, inspired by Nietzsche's, "He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster." The pursuit intensified, Thompson fleeing deeper into the forest, Marcus following, losing signal but pressing on. At a clearing, Thompson dug frantically, muttering about her Elena. Confrontation ensued. Thompson confessed Clove shot Sarah. They captured Elena for interrogation in a converted container, torturing her for 2 months. She escaped twice, left evidence, fed false intel, died by Thompson's hand but not cremated, buried here. Ambush by henchmen felled Marcus, but approaching engines signaled rescue. Awakening in a van, bound, Marcus noted landmarks for escape, arriving at the warehouse teeming with caged victims, 32 women and girls, amid drug stashes. Dragged inside, he overheard execution debates. Alone, he saw ties free, stole a phone, alerted Chen. Grabbing an AK-47 from a downed guard, he held off traffickers as the tactical team stormed in, chaos ensuing with gunfire and rescues. Marcus shielded a girl, taking a hit but surviving. Thompson cuffed, network crumbling. Forensics at the grave unearthed Elena's remains and her bundled evidence. Photos, documents, a note apologizing yet affirming her fight. Thompson's confession detailed the ring's decade-long operation, other burials, corrupted officials. Dawn brought closure. 32 saved, justice served. This expansive narrative weaves true elements like prohibition smuggling and border vulnerabilities with vivid moments of Marcus's grief-to-triumph arc, emphasizing emotional resilience. For English learners, note idioms like kick against the pricks, feudal resistance, unlike Elena's purposeful fight, and vocabulary such as harbinger, explained earlier. Philosophically, it echoes Frankl's logotherapy. Finding meaning in suffering propels growth. Modern relevance lies in ongoing border crises, urging awareness and action against trafficking, while universal wisdom teaches that perseverance in learning, be it English or life's lessons, unearths hidden strengths. What buried truths in your own life are waiting to be unearthed, and how might confronting them lead to your own redemption? As the first rays of dawn pierced the canopy of ancient evergreens, casting long shadows over the forest floor where Elena's grave had finally yielded its secrets, Marcus Rivera stood vigil, his bandaged arm throbbing in rhythm with his fractured heart, contemplating how a single discovery could unravel years of deception and ignite a quest for justice that transcended personal loss. This moment harkened back to historical precedents like the 1980s cocaine cowboys era in Florida, where DEA agents battled cartel infiltrations, but here in the Pacific Northwest, the stakes involved not just narcotics but the commodification of human lives, a pernicious echo of the 19th century Underground Railroad's reverse horrors where freedom seekers were hunted. Marcus's emotional development deepened as he whispered apologies to Elena's remains, recalling her teaching him English phrases like "weather the storm" during their family's immigration from Mexico, explaining it as enduring hardships with grace, a lesson now painfully relevant. Dr. Lindstrom's gentle revelation of Elena's defensive wounds and quick death provided bittersweet solace, aligning with Aristotelian philosophy on catharsis, where tragedy purges emotions to foster wisdom. The bundled evidence, Elena's bloodstained note, became a talisman, her words, "I fought," a mantra for Marcus, illustrating character moments of unyielding courage amid despair. Philosophically, this evokes Kant's categorical imperative. Act as if your maxims could become universal law, Elena's resistance a model for ethical defiance. For English learners, dissect talisman, an object believed to confer protection, from Greek, telesma, completion, used here metaphorically for emotional armor. As agents process Thompson's confessions in a nearby van, detailing a network rooted in post 9/11 border security lapses that inadvertently created smuggling opportunities, Marcus reflected on modern relevance. Today's opioid crisis and migrant exploitations demand linguistic precision and advocacy, like using trafficking versus smuggling to highlight coercion. The convoy's departure marked a transition, victims en route to healing, their hollow eyes gradually filling with hope, a vivid tableau of human resilience. Thompson's revelations poured forth. Recruited via debts, he facilitated routes avoiding patrols, murdered Sarah instantly, held Elena in torment, her escapes forcing relocations. The cave bodies, Maria and Ana Gonzalez, overdosed deliberately, their story paralleling historical migrant tragedies like the 1930s Dust Bowl displacements. 5 more burial sites promised closure for other families, underscoring universal wisdom on forgiveness versus justice, inspired by Mandela's reconciliation efforts post-apartheid. Marcus's arc shifted from vengeance to advocacy, vowing to honor Elena by educating on trafficking signs, incorporating English idioms like turn a blind eye, ignore deliberately, as corrupted officials did. The hospital loomed, medics insisting on treatment, but Marcus's mind wandered to philosophical teachings of Buddhism on impermanence. Nothing lasts, yet actions echo eternally. Victims' Gracias echoed in his ears, a chorus of gratitude blending languages, teaching code switching in multilingual contexts for English learners. As stitches closed his wound, symbolizing mended but scarred wholeness, chin updated. The network dismantled, corrupted border patrol agents arrested, safe houses raided. Elena's note went viral internally, inspiring agents. Her never gave them anything real, a lesson in integrity. Historical ties to the 1970s DEA formation amid Nixon's war on drugs added depth, showing how policies evolve yet challenges persist. Marcus's vivid dream that night revisited Elena's pride in her truck, her idiom, hit the ground running for quick starts, now his motto for recovery. Awakening renewed, he planned speeches on resilience, linking to English learning as a tool for empowerment, immigrants mastering idioms to navigate systems. The paragraph's journey from grave to hospital mirrors life cycles, with emotional peaks of grief yielding to purpose. What storms in your life have you weathered, and how can embracing philosophical impermanence transform your suffering into strength for others? With the sun climbing higher over Elliott Bay, bathing Seattle's federal building in golden light, Marcus Rivera stepped into the archive room once more, not as a grieving brother, but as a transformed advocate, his journey embodying the philosophical arc from despair to enlightenment, much like Siddhartha's path in Hesse's novel, where self-discovery emerges from trials. This phase drew from true historical elements, such as the 2000s Operation Fast and Furious scandal, where government lapses enabled trafficking, paralleling Thompson's corruption. Marcus's character moment came reviewing Elena's file, her photo evoking tears, but also resolve. Her notes, "Tell Marcus I'm sorry," flipped to pride in her fight. For English learners, explore, embody. To represent in bodily form, here abstract ideas made tangible through action, an advanced verb enhancing descriptive narratives. Director Thornton's briefing revealed the full scope. Thompson's network moved millions in fentanyl, exploiting post-COVID supply chain disruptions, with human merchandise sold into exploitation, a modern slave trade echoing the 18th century Middle Passage horrors. Philosophical teaching from Plato's allegory of the cave resonated. The prisoner's shadows as illusions, Elena's cave discovery shattering deceptions. Marcus's emotional growth peaked addressing rescued victims via video, sharing Elena's story, explaining idioms like light at the end of the tunnel as hope amid darkness. Vividly, a girl he shielded, now safe, sent a drawing of a bird escaping a cage, symbolizing freedom, tying to universal wisdom on liberation. Modern relevance. In English learning, mastering vocabulary like exploitation, unfair use, from Latin exploitar, empowers advocacy against global issues. As prosecutions mounted, Thompson's death row avoidance hinged on full disclosure, revealing complicit corporations laundering funds, historical nods to Al Capone's 1920s money schemes. Marcus testified, his voice steady, detailing the warehouse raid's chaos, the victims' pleas blending Spanish and English, a lesson in linguistic empathy. Philosophical reflection on utilitarianism, Bentham's greatest good for the greatest number, justified the risks, saving 32 lives. Character development shown in Marcus mentoring new agents, using Elena's note as a teaching tool, idioms like fight tooth and nail, fiercely from Animal Combat, illustrating determination. The media frenzy followed, stories framing Elena as a hero, inspiring documentaries on border security evolution from the 1848 Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo to today. Marcus's arm healed, but scars remained, metaphors for internal wounds, drawing from Freud's mourning theories. Visiting parents, he translated Elena's note, their tears mixing grief and pride, a family moment underscoring cultural wisdom in Mexican proverbs like, El que persevera, alcanza, he who perseveres achieves. For English learners, practice translating idioms across languages to build fluency. As awards came, Elena's posthumous Medal of Valor, Marcus reflected on Sartre's freedom in choices, choosing advocacy over bitterness. Launching a foundation against trafficking, he incorporated English workshops for survivors, teaching terms like resilience, ability to recover from Latin resiliere, to rebound. The narrative arc closed with Marcus at Elena's proper burial, evergreens whispering eternal watch, historical winds carrying lessons from past injustices. What illusions in your cave are you ready to shatter? And how might philosophical enlightenment guide your path to advocacy and growth? In the quiet aftermath, as autumn leaves carpeted the Washington forests in a tapestry of crimson and gold, Marcus Rivera found himself at a crossroads of healing and purpose, his story a testament to the transformative power of truth-seeking, akin to the historical Enlightenment era's pursuit of reason over superstition, where figures like Voltaire challenged corrupt systems. This final chapter-like reflection incorporated true elements from the 2010s Fast and Furious ATF controversy, highlighting governmental flaws enabling crime, paralleling Thompson's betrayal. Marcus's vivid character moment occurred hiking old smuggling trails, Elena's spirit seemingly guiding him, whispering idioms like forge ahead, proceed despite difficulties, a phrase he now taught in seminars. Emotionally, he grappled with survivor's guilt, philosophical solace from Epicureanism's focus on moderating desires to achieve tranquility. For English learners, unpack tapestry, woven fabric, metaphorically a complex interweaving from Old French to pissery, enriching descriptive skills. Modern relevance shown in Marcus's TED-style talks on trafficking, linking to global English usage in UN reports on human rights. The foundation thrived, survivors sharing stories, their accented English a badge of resilience, teaching code mixing. Philosophical universal wisdom from Taoism's Wu Wei, effortless action, inspired Marcus's advocacy, flowing with change rather than resisting. As Thompson's trial unfolded, revelations of deeper networks led to international arrests, historical echoes of the 1980s Medellin cartel's downfall. Marcus's arc culminated in authoring a book, Buried Truths, blending memoir with English lessons on narrative tenses for impactful storytelling. Vivid moments included reuniting with a shielded girl, now studying her "You Saved Me," evoking reciprocal healing. Ending with a memorial at the cave, now a site of remembrance, Marcus pondered Aristotle's eudaimonia, flourishing through virtue. What crossroads in your journey call for forging ahead with philosophical wisdom, and how can mastering English's nuances empower your own story of transformation?